Loading. Welcome to Access the Animus.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new video here on Access the Animus. Today we're going to provide you with a recap of all the news and information we know about the upcoming River Raids update for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In fact, we're going to go through each official and reported news about the River Raids, from the post-launch trailer of the game to some press releases to an article on the Assassin's Creed website, a screenshot, some very interesting tweets, and much more. In the video, we're also going to share some of our expectations and predictions about the River Raids update, including its release date and some of the features we might find in it. If you appreciate the video, please consider liking it, subscribing to our channel, and turning the notifications on so you won't miss any of our future updates. And with that out of the way, let's dive into all the news surrounding the River Raids update for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So, what do we know about the River Raids for now? Let's start with what we got to know from the post-launch trailer for the game. We do know that it is a new and free game mode that will soon be made available for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and, to quote level design director Bruno Sant'Andrea in the post-launch trailer, will capitalize on the core mechanic of the raids from the main game, injecting much more risk and many more rewards within a different context, and will also capitalize on another feature from the main game, the Jomsvikings, that is, the Vikings that players can hire from their online friends. In the mode, players will be able to create an entire crew of Jomsvikings in order to take on this new kind of raids. So, by then, when the trailer released, we knew that the mode would feature a different take on the standard raids that would be more difficult, involve more risk, but also was going to imply a whole set of rewards. After that, through a press release dedicated to the Yule season, we got to know that the River Raids would be a quote-unquote highly replayable raid experience, which would feature different difficulty levels, and that an update in February would have included both the River Raids and a new feature, that is the ranks for the Jomsvikings. More specifically, this feature would be an update to the standard Jomsviking system that would allow players Jomsvikings to earn XP and rank up, making it so that the higher the rank, the more silver players would earn when their Jomsviking would be recruited by other players. Along with that, towards the second half of December, we also got an update on the Assassin's Creed website within an article dedicated to the Yule season. This update showcased the new screenshot dedicated to the River Raids, and also added that the River Raids mode would feature, again directly quoting the source, not one, not two, but 3 and replayable maps that will be brimming with new gear, silver, runes, books of knowledge, and much more. So, through this little piece of news, we also got to know that this update would provide players with dedicated gear, runes, and abilities, some of which we might have already seen or known. For example, the screenshot itself is showing an interesting customization for the longship, and that shouldn't necessarily account for gear, meaning we should expect more gear and equipment for Eivor herself, which wouldn't be half bad considering the recent complaints by fans about the store sets equaling in number the equipment sets available in the main game. Moreover, we then got to know that the River Raids would involve 3 main locations that the player would have to raid in order to get their rewards. While that might seem to be a limited number of locations, we still don't know how big, how detailed, and how deeply developed they might be. If they'll contain some mini activities you have to do in order to progress in the raids, if there's going to be some bosses or mini bosses inside of them, etc. So we'll have to wait and see about that, but that's also where the replayability element might come into play. The article on the Assassin's Creed website also mentioned that the River Raids update would feature a new building for the settlement. Named the Jomsvikings Hall, its purpose will be to allow players to recruit more Jomsvikings to take with them into the River Raids. This ties into the words of level design director Bruno Sant'Andrea, who said that the update would have allowed to take an entire crew of Jomsvikings in order to face the River Raids, and also makes sense on its own, considering it would be a proper location to manage the several Jomsvikings we'd have to recruit, and especially their XPs and ranks, should they be made available along with the River Raids as planned. We then got to know on February the 10th through a Twitter account that monitors updates for the various games of the PlayStation consoles named PlayStation Game Size, and through JoeRaptor, who reported it, that an update for Assassin's Creed Valhalla had been added to the PlayStation 5 database soon to be released. According to the Twitter account, the update would bring the game from a size of 58.3 GB to a size of 67.1 GB. That's pretty huge in itself, and while it doesn't necessarily mean that River Raids update will account for 9 GB, as it might be less or more, it does show that a lot of improvements should be added to the game along with the River Raids themselves. In fact, the thread dedicated to Valhalla's known issues on the Ubisoft forums contains a specific section dedicated to the issues planned to be addressed with future updates. So given how big the River Raids update is likely to be, we can also expect to see some of these issues fixed along with it, especially the one about the weapon contained in Ragnar Lothbrok's pit located in Yorkshire. While still staying on the topic of the River Raids, a few days ago, on Friday, the Assassin's Creed accounts shared this picture to tease that the River Raids update would be coming very soon, and the tweet itself contains some additional information that might not necessarily be easy to see. For starters, the picture showcases 2 new buildings that are currently not featured in the settlement and are very likely to be added with the new update. As reported by JoeRaptor, the bridge on the picture is what gives away the future location of the buildings, which should be on the riverside around this location of the settlement. While the bigger of the 2 buildings is likely to be the Jomsvikings Hall, it's interesting to notice that there is a second building in the picture as well, which might be a side building like the several farms in the settlement, or it could actually add some more feature tied to the Jomsvikings, or even something completely new. The text of the tweet is also interesting in itself, as it mentions a new ally, a new friend, a new opportunity. This possibly means that the River Raids might have a light narrative tied to them, as they might be introduced to Eivor by a new character, this new ally or friend, who, considering the 2 new buildings, is very likely to be tied to one of them, as it happens with most of the members of the settlement. Thus, in our opinion, we might find this character in the Jomsviking Hall. We'll be able to talk to them, manage our crew of Jomsvikings, their XP and ranks, and through them we'll get to know about the locations for the River Raids, maybe even access the River Raids themselves if those are not going to be located on the main map. Actually, considering the second building is directly placed on the river, maybe that's where the River Raids are started. Also, as this will be a new and possibly permanent building on the settlement, there's a good chance it might get to be upgraded, which in itself might bring upgrades to your Jomsvikings, or it might allow you to recruit Jomsvikings of greater skill or rank, but that's only speculation for now. Lastly, we also know from Dirty Chocobo, one of the Assassin's Creed community developers, that very soon there will be a video dedicated to the River Raids update, and that she's going to narrate it, so we should also keep an eye out for it so very soon. So, all in all, when will the update be available? At this point, everyone is expecting it to be this week, and if that's the case, it should be available on Thursday, as it's always been the case for all the patches and updates for the game, or maybe even earlier than that. Thus, we should expect the preview video that the ComDev mentioned possibly on the previous or on the same day the update is released, so we can definitely expect a very intense week in terms of news and content. And that's it for our recap and expectations about the River Raids update, which is bound to release very soon on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What are your expectations and theories about the update though? Do you think we're going to just see some modifications to the current raids, or are we going to see a completely new experience? Which are the new features that you expect or at least would like to see being added with the new update? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.